because it is the most expensive illusion in sport. The anthem swells, a flag climbs toward the roof, and a single athlete stands at the top of the podium with gold around their neck. And for about 90 seconds, they are perfect, untouchable, the greatest in the world at the one thing they have given their entire life to. Now follow that same person home. The medal goes into a drawer, the cameras vanish, and a few days later, they pull on an apron, or a delivery jacket, or they open a laptop and begin asking strangers for money because the rent is due, and being the best on the planet does not pay it. Some of them, tonight, are sleeping in their cars. Some are eating from food banks between training sessions. And these are not the ones who failed. These are the ones who made it. That is the contradiction sitting at the very center of the Olympic Games. The people the entire spectacle is built on are, so often, the only people in the building not getting paid. And it forces a few questions that really should have simple answers and don't. How can an event that earns billions pay the people it is built on absolutely nothing? Why, in the 1 month every 4 years that the world is finally watching them, are these athletes ordered to stay silent? And what does it quietly do to a person to trade 15 years of their life for 10 seconds of glory and then be discarded for another 4? But hold on to the biggest question of all, because it is the one that unlocks the rest. If the games pay these athletes nothing, wreck their bodies, and hand them a medal that, as you are about to learn, is worth almost nothing, then what on earth are they really competing for? The answer is the reason this whole machine has run, unquestioned, for more than 100 years. And I am saving it for the very end. This is why it sucks to be an Olympic athlete. Let's begin. To see how that is even possible, forget the athletes for a moment and just follow the money. From the outside, the Olympics looks like one of the richest engines on Earth. And it is. Every 4 years, it generates billions from broadcasters, from sponsors, from those 5 rings printed onto everything you can buy. And when the closing ceremony ends and the accounts are settled, the organization at the center of it is left sitting on a reserve of close to $5 billion. Now bring the athletes back into the picture. Out of all of that money, the people you actually tuned in to watch are paid a base salary of nothing. Not a small salary, not a modest one. There is no salary. They are not employees. And by one estimate, for every $100 the games take in, as little as 50 cents ever reaches the hands of the people actually competing. 50 cents out of $100. So who lives on the wrong side of that math? Take the finest athletes from nearly 50 different countries and study how they live, and the same picture appears again and again. More than 4 in 10 of them are surviving below the poverty line. Not the amateurs, not the ones who fell short, the elite, the very best their sport has to offer anywhere on Earth. And simply to stay there, many spend thousands of dollars a year out of their own pockets, on coaching, on travel, on gear, for the privilege of representing their country. So they improvise. They wait tables after practice. They deliver food at night. They move back into their childhood bedrooms in their 30s. And more of them do the one thing that should be unthinkable for a world-class athlete. They post a link online and ask strangers to fund their shot at glory. Now hold that picture, an Olympian passing a hat around the internet, and set it beside one last detail. The officials who run these organizations are not struggling. They draw comfortable 6-figure and 7-figure salaries, with the expense accounts to match. At the top of the movement, business is very good. It is only at the center of it, where the athletes are, that the money runs out. That is not a system failing its athletes. That is a system doing precisely what it was built to do. And once you see that clearly, the next part starts to make a terrible kind of sense. You would think an athlete this broke would at least be free to fix it themselves. To go out and sign their own sponsor, a local gym, a hometown brand, anyone willing to pay for the name and the face they have spent a lifetime building. And for most of the year, they can. But during the games themselves, the one stretch of time, every 4 years, when the entire world is finally watching, that freedom quietly disappears. There is a rule for it. It is called Rule 40. Rule 40 draws a wall around the Olympics, a blackout that begins days before the opening ceremony and holds until days after it ends. Inside that window, an athlete is forbidden from thanking, tagging, or promoting their own personal sponsors, The very companies keeping them afloat, unless those companies have paid enormous sums to become official partners of the games. Sit with how strange that is. An athlete could be kept alive for 10 years by a sponsor from their own hometown and be banned from so much as saying that sponsor's name at the single moment it would finally have mattered. And this is not a gentle rule. Break it and you can lose your results. You can lose your place at the games entirely. So ask who it actually protects, not the athlete. It protects the handful of global giants who paid for exclusivity, the names already plastered across every billboard around the stadium. The rule takes the most valuable thing an athlete owns for those 2 weeks, the world's attention, and quietly hands it to the corporations who could most afford to buy it, while the athlete is ordered to keep quiet. They have fought it, athletes organized, they protested, and in one country, a competition court finally ruled the whole thing anti-competitive and forced it open. The rule has softened since, but its heart still beats, and its message has never really changed. During the Olympics, your voice does not belong to you. It belongs to whoever paid for it. So they cannot earn from the games and they cannot fully earn around them. And yet somehow the money is still not the part that does the most damage. That comes later, in the silence, after the crowd has gone home. To understand that silence, you have to go back to the 10 seconds that cause it. The starting gunfires in a body that has been sharpened for this single instant since childhood explodes down the track. 15 years of dark, freezing mornings, of injuries and diets and missed birthdays, of an entire life narrowed to one point. All of it spent right here in less time than it takes to read this sentence out loud. And then it is over. Win, and you get a few blinding days of attention. Lose by 100th of a second, and the world never even learns your name. And here's the part the cameras never wait around for. What happens after? The stadium empties, the lights shut off, and the athlete is left standing alone in a place that, an hour ago, was the center of the universe. There is a name for what comes next. They call it post-Olympic depression, and it is not the exception. It is closer to the rule. The most decorated Olympian who has ever lived, a man who won 23 gold medals, has said that 80% of Olympians go through it. He described his own version as standing at the edge of a cliff. And after the highest moment of his career, having just won yet again, he has admitted there came a point when he no longer wanted to be alive. Then comes the final cruelty. The world will not need them again for 4 more years. The machine that swallowed their entire youth simply powers down and waits. No income, no spotlight, no purpose, and a body that has already given everything it had. They are set back on the shelf until the next games when a fresh generation is wheeled out to take their place and the whole cycle begins again. So put it all together. No salary, no voice, a broken body, and so often, a broken mind. By every rational measure, chasing this dream is a devastating decision, which brings us at last to the only question that ever really mattered. If it costs them everything and pays them nothing, why do they still do it? What in the end are they truly competing for? The answer has been hiding in plain sight this whole time. It is hanging around their necks. Because the medal they are willing to destroy themselves for, the gold medal is barely gold at all. The rules require it to be more than 90% silver, coated in the thinnest skin of gold, about 6 grams of it. The last time a champion was handed a medal of solid gold, it was the year 1912. Melt a modern one down today, and it is worth a little over $1,000. The single most coveted object in all of sport is silver, wearing a costume. And that is the entire secret. It was never about the medal. The Olympics worked out a very long time ago that it did not need to pay these athletes in money because it had found something far cheaper and infinitely more powerful to pay them with instead. It pays them in pride, in country, in the promise of being remembered forever. From the time they are children, athletes are told one story over and over until it becomes part of who they are. That there is nothing higher a person can do than represent their nation. That to wear the flag and hear the anthem is to matter beyond your own lifetime. Plant that belief deep enough and early enough, and a grown adult will starve for it, will break their body for it, will hand over their entire youth and call it an honor. For the people who run the games, it is a flawless arrangement because pride costs nothing and sells for a fortune. They gather up the flags, the tears, the anthems, all that impossible human drama, and they sell it to the world for billions. And the raw material for that fortune? A $1,000 medal and a place on a podium. So there is the trade, finally laid bare. A young person's love for their country is quietly converted into revenue and handed back to them at a piece of painted silver. The athlete keeps the feeling. The executives keep the fortune. And then they go looking for the next child with a dream, because that dream is the one resource on earth that never runs out, and it is very nearly free. So the next time you watch someone sink to their knees on that podium, the medal on their chest, the anthem in the air, an entire country screaming their name, you will see two things at once: the glory, which is real, and the mashma, which is also real, and which someone else is quietly collecting. So I will leave you with the only question that matters. Now that you know what it is truly made of, does that medal look the same to you? Tell me in the comments. And if this changed the way you see the games, take a second to like and subscribe, because next we pry open another part of the sports machine that would much rather stay shut.